ready to go.
The name's Bond.
James Bond.
The Bonds. I'm cutting that out.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Hi, my name is Kristen. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Seymour, Connecticut. So I decided to make this series, A Date with 48, to highlight the 48 4,000-foot mountains in New Hampshire and, more importantly, I guess, the people who hike them. Careful! This is cool. So growing up, I was always super infatuated with stories. Whether it was fiction or my grandpa's war stories, I just always wanted someone to tell me a story. And I think the reason for that was because I was looking for a way to kind of escape my own reality. Don't say that. By the time I was 2, my mom's mental illness kind of took over. It really became who she was. She suffered from depression and she was suicidal. And we spent a lot of time in hospitals and different mental health facilities. So I think as a kid, that was really, really hard for me. But during that time, I became super close with my dad. So my dad was basically like my superhero. He taught me everything I knew, and he was obsessed with outside and the outdoors and hiking. Now, hiking is kind of a part of me, and I still have that passion for telling stories and hearing people's stories, and I thought this would be the best way to combine both of those things. So hopefully, as this goes on, you'll be seeing a lot of other people's adventures hiking the 4,000-foot mountains in New Hampshire, and we'll be hearing from a lot of my friends, my family, and strangers, and maybe even some of you. But for this episode, I wanted to take everyone on my adventure, and this past weekend, I decided to hike the Bonds. The Bonds consist of multiple peaks in New Hampshire: Bond Cliff, West Bond, Mount Bond, and Mount Zealand. And those are 4 4,000-foot mountains, so when you do this hike, you basically cross off all 4 on your list. There are a lot of people that like to do this hike in a day. My friend Tom and I decided to do it in 2 days. There's 2 different ways that you could do this hike from 2 different sides. We decided to do it from Mount Zealand side.
That's right, I got the map.
We didn't start until 12 p.m., which was really late and really stupid, in my opinion. All right, up to the Bonds we go. Hopefully we make it. It's 12:38 in the afternoon. It starts getting dark around like 5:30 these days. 6:30 is sunset. The first 4 miles of this hike was completely flat. We were powering through it and the views were incredible. We were stopping every now and then to take pictures. We had the dog with us. It was amazing. But then it slowly started to get a little bit harder and more challenging, which I figured it would. We were in the whites.
Where did you start?
And once that started to happen, we realized, okay, it's getting late and we still have a really long time to the campsite. What are we gonna do? We have another 1.5 miles to go till the campsite, and it's getting dark, and we're in the wilderness. This could be the last video I ever send out. The regulations for camping in the Whites is you have to be 200 feet off the trail, and you can't have any fires unless it's 200 feet off the trail. So we were looking for anywhere possible to set up a tent and just spend the night. And we wanted to do that before it got dark because it's a lot harder to set up a tent in the dark than it is in the daylight. So we set up camp in this tiny little area. We had a nice little fire going, we had some food, and we went to bed at 7 o'clock at night. It's 6:44 in the morning. It's so cold. So we missed the sunrise, but I don't think there's many views anyway. Now it's 7 in the morning, or 6:30 in the morning, and we had 4 mountains to climb. We started going up relatively early. It was beautiful. The views were some of the most incredible views I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot of views.
There's the Trail of West Bond, which is that sign right next to us.
Yep.
We do a 1/2 mile, we're at the top of Mount Bond. We do 1.2 to Bond Cliff, and then we come all the way back and we go home.
We hiked a 1/2 mile up to Mount Bond, and when we got to the top of there, I was in awe.
And then we've got to go across to West Bond yet too. It doesn't look terrible once you get to that little nub there.
I've been on top of a lot of 4,000-foot mountains before, but I've never been just completely surrounded by them like this. I felt really small, and I felt like I was in just a world that was so much bigger than me, and I love that feeling more than anything in the world. The cliff is that way. From Mount Bond, you could see Bond Cliff, and I remember looking out at Bond Cliff and just looking at Tom being like, we gotta get all the way over there and all the way back over here in an hour. And he was like, oh, we got this, it's only a mile. And I was like, all right, we can do this. Like, I know we can. I would love to sit here and tell you that it was like the best experience of my life and it was magical and I had this amazing moment where I overcame all these fears and everything happened, but in all honesty, it was probably the worst hike of my life. So eventually, after a lot of hard work, we got to the top of Bond Cliff, which was amazing. I remember being like, Tom, I can't hike. I can't do anymore. Like, it's late, we have to get back to the truck. I can't feel my feet, and I can't hike the West Bond. And for the first time ever, Tom looked at me and was like, I don't think I can either. So to see even him be like, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea, that's when I knew, like, hey, we hit our limits here, and that's okay.
I'm a prisoner of this hill, searching for a way to get back up again.
This was the first real hike where I was, going over a lot of peaks and doing a lot of miles. And as much as I like to think I'm an avid hiker, this one really kicked me in the ass and made me sit back and think like, oh, I still have a lot to learn and I still have a lot of work to do. So, I think that's pretty awesome. So I guess to me, the 48 4,000 footers means beauty. It's a challenge that I'm really excited to conquer, but I'm also not in a rush. I think it's something that I want to take my time on and enjoy, and I want to bring people with me that have never done it before. Like, I just want to do it with the people that mean the most to me, because it's something that we can share together that we'll just think of for the rest of our lives. And I want pretty much all of my closest friends and my family to just join me on this adventure and to experience all of this beauty that I get to experience when I'm in these environments. So these mountains are a way of just connecting me with my favorite people and my favorite thing, which is the outdoors.
How am I gonna get back up?
Okay, this is my little sister Kristen, and this is my best friend, and this is my little brother. She is so cute. As you can see, her hair is fast. She's #1 hairstylist, and everyone loves her. She could talk a little bit, and she could say hi. Yeah, and she could say yeah, and that's all. She's 3 months years old. This is my little girl. She's fuzzy, isn't she? I love her. She's really good at talking. Well,